David Plaza, the Community Engagement Editor for the Tennessean. We are having this recording on Tennessean.com of our interview with Vivian Wilhoite, who is a challenger for the office of Nashville, Davidson County Property Assessor. And in the room I have Metro columnist Frank Daniels III, and we want to thank you, Ms. Wilhoite, for joining us, and also content strategist Wayne Gang for joining us on this conversation. It's
Absolutely.
such an important race. We have the election coming up. It's the only local
Absolutely.
race on the March 1st ballot in the Democratic primary. And tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're running.
Oh, awesome. Well, first I want to thank you, David Plaza, and thank you, Mr. Frank Daniels, for allowing me to be here, and also to talk to the viewing audience about the vision that I have for the the Office of the Assessor of Property. Well, again, I'm Vivian Wilhoite. I was born in Gulfport, Mississippi. I came to Nashville, Tennessee to attend Tennessee State University. There at Tennessee State University, I graduated with a Bachelor's of Business Administration, emphasis in marketing. Once I graduated from Tennessee State University, caught a young man's, or older man's eye, named Larry Wilhoite. We were married. We have 2 children, Furious and Leland, and they're awesome kids. As we always know, we got to always keep working on our children, of course, but awesome children. I ran for the position of the Metro Council of District 29, and I served on the Metro Council from the years 2003 to 2011. And we are a district that is ever growing, and of course it doesn't have a lot of businesses or what have you, but the fact of density is a really big issue. So we dealt with a couple of rezoning issues, and I think that my constituents will say, well representative and being in contact with them on a day-to-day basis. But prior to me serving on the Metro Council, I was employed by the Tennessee Public Service Commission, and which is now known as the Tennessee Regulatory Authority. And graduation brought on a great challenge. I became very interested in the area of real estate appraising. I went into the position of real estate appraising for the Tennessee Public Service Commission. And at the Tennessee Public Service Commission, we regulate the for-profit gas, water, electric, and telephone utilities. So most of the functions that I did was appraising the properties of those for-profit utilities, as well as truck companies, as well as the railroad, which is how the Public Service Commission was established. And then, of course, later on, we became the Tennessee Regulatory Authority, and some of those functions were transferred out to other departments. But during that time, as being in the profession of real estate appraising, I was pursuing my credibility, my credentials, with the International Association of Assessing Officers. And so I've taken quite a couple of courses, quite a number of courses in that area of real estate appraiser, and continue to be a real estate appraiser for the state. Most of my area was in East Tennessee, and I traveled all over the East Tennessee area, from Sullivan County all the way down to Cumberland County. Once I was in the real estate appraising position, I also saw an opportunity as a part of an effort to create more diversity at the Tennessee Public Service Commission to become the Assistant Director of the Consumer Services Division. In that division, we receive all the complaints regarding the telecommunications companies, and we try to mediate and try to resolve those issues, balancing the issues of the consumers as well as balancing the issues of the utilities. I went on to become the director of the Consumer Services Division as well. I now serve as the outreach manager at the Tennessee Regulatory Authority at this time, and a part of that is educating people about the programs and services that are available that can help them to make informed decisions regarding their utilities. And when I think about the background and the journey that I've traveled over the years, I see the Assessor of Property's position as definitely one that I can put my experience from being a real estate appraiser, from being in the outreach position, and just from being on the Metro Council to help us become the better it city. And that's who I am, Vivian Wilhoite.
Do you think that there's something with the current process, the current officer, current assessor, that causes you concern or is a reason why you're running? Do you feel that you need to replace the current status quo because of a reason?
Well, I definitely want to replace the status quo because I think that we need more women in some of the major key positions here in Nashville, Tennessee. As you know, that there has been a study conducted by the Metro Human Relations that talks about the percentage of women and does the comparison of minorities in the various 56, 57 departments of Metro government. And I think we should always try to continue to try to do better and provide that diversity that's needed that makes us the IT city. So that's the first thing. The second thing is when I think about the vision of the assessor of property, I think that the responsibility, of course, is to appraise, classify those properties and to ensure that you are providing a balanced and fair, equitable appraisal as well as coming out with your assessment. But I also think that, the assessor of property should also do more. Again, we think about the IT city. We think about the fact that there are people who could be or will be taxed out of their homes. We think about the fact that, do you really know the responsibility of this office and how it can affect you and how you can utilize that office to make your situation better or just become better educated regarding the Office of Assessment. So I think about the 4 points that I lay out regarding my vision for the assessor of property. One, I would like to see us do more in providing education to not only to the staff to keep them on the cutting edge, but also to the people of Nashville. When I think about the fact that there are some people who are in these very trendy, hot areas, hot markets where the assessments is going to maybe double or triple, there are some people who may not know what to do with their property, don't know where to turn. There are other assessor of property that provide education, such as having people with professional backgrounds that can talk to the people about how to go about doing development, doing a duplex on your property if it's permitted. What do you do when you're faced with all of these letters from the various realtors asking you to sell, and you don't want to? It doesn't necessarily mean that you tell people don't sell, hold your property, but you tell people what are their options, or you provide them with options. And I think that the assessor of property is a wonderful, a very appropriate place to give options to the people in reference to making decisions about their property. So that's one of the points. The second point is in reference to diversity. There was a study done back in January of 2015, and I understand it's updated quarterly or what have you, regarding the number of not only women, African Americans, minorities of any sort, that are actually employed in each department. And what I found just in general is that there are areas where men are overly represented in the higher income brackets. Women are underrepresented in some of the higher income bracket. Women are overrepresented in the lower income bracket. So we need to change that. I think that when we think about the percentage of our population here when it comes to minorities and what have you, we need to strive for reaching that. Again, we're the IT city. We need to be looking at the people who have been here. They help build this city to where it is, and we definitely welcome the visitors that come here. They help us build this city. But I think that we need to strive towards trying to accomplish better and to provide more equity across the board. One of the third points of vision I believe that the assessor of property should provide is outreach. As I stated before, there are people who are possibly going to be taxed out of their homes. There are people who are probably able to pay the double or triple taxes, but also the fact that paying more doesn't necessarily mean that it's right. So in that effort, I think outreach is very important to help them understand, for those that could be taxed out of their home, to understand that there's the availability of tax release, tax deferral, tax freeze. How do I qualify? Don't wait to the day that is too late. I was telling someone the other day, there is an old saying, what a difference a day make. So today you're able, tomorrow you're not. Are you aware of these programs and services? I don't believe that we have enough people that are qualifying for these programs and services to ensure their stability to stay in their home. One of as I stated in my background, outreach is so very important. People knowing the information. But one of the things that's also critical in getting the people the information is meeting them where they are. Not just giving them a bill insert or giving them information in a letter, but also going to where they are, whether it may be the senior citizen centers, whether it may be the churches. An ideal came up just last night. A Metro employee retiring from Metro. You know, you would think that possibly they may not, qualify for some of the programs and services, but there are Metro employees that make, just a little over, I'll consider to be low income, let's put it that way. When they retire, why not provide in their retirement package information regarding programs and services that they may qualify for or their family members may qualify for? So outreach is extremely important in getting the information to people and meeting people where they are. And my fourth point in reference to what I think would very well make the Office of Assessment or the Assessor of Property, if I'm elected, is to also provide advocacy. We realize that many of the legislation that we're operated under or that we operate under is handed down from the state of Tennessee legislators, such as that is the tax freeze, and we understand that. But when we think about the number of people that need to also qualify because they're just a little bit here, just a little bit there, we need to be advocating on the Hill regardless of the party, because I do believe that the parties, whether it be the majority Republicans and what have you, they all represent people who need or who have great needs in reference to property and being able to pay their taxes. We need to find that common ground, let them know that their constituency would benefit from expanding these programs and making sure that more people can qualify. So those are the things I believe that are not happening at the Office of the Assessor of Property, and I will bring those things to the table and bring them to fruition.
Come next year, you have the reevaluation. Is probably going to be the most complicated one that Nashville may have ever seen because of the increase in property values. Mm-hmm. Do you have a sense of how, if you were to win this office, how you would go about executing that? Because the deadlines are tight. You start the process
Absolutely.
first, and then the council has to take up a budget. Do you feel prepared to be able to handle that large responsibility?
Well, the reason why I say I feel prepared, I feel like I am prepared to handle that responsibility because I have a general working knowledge in reference to the property assessment. That's the first thing. The second thing is the fact that you recognize good people that are working in the office. You don't go in and try to fire everyone or anything like that. As I want to accomplish diversity, I think that can be accomplished through attrition. It's also can be accomplished through creation of positions such as consumer outreach to provide the information that I talked about earlier to the people. So yes, I've also made an appointment to visit the property assessor's office to talk about or to just kind of see the process in its works. As you know, David and Daniel, many of these processes that are laid out for the assessment of properties is that there is an order you must follow according to certain deadlines. I mean, those deadlines must be met. They're concrete. So they have to coincide with other things such as budget and what have you. So absolutely, understanding those deadlines and also recognizing the good employees that are there and adding good employees is how I would do it. So I am prepared to do that.
Thank you. And I apologize. He's Frank.
Frank, I'm sorry. Frank Daniels. I should have said Mr. in front of that.
No.
Mr. Daniels doesn't live in Tennessee.
Okay.
We're informal here.
No worries.
One of Mr. Rooker, who is the incumbent, has been in the office for 8 years, has been working there beyond that for some 30 years. From a standpoint of qualifications, when you go out and you talk to voters and you have to make those comparisons, what distinguishes you? We talked about your vision, obviously, but when
absolutely.
it comes to actually executing the job and getting it done, and also telling people that there's an alternative, do you see yourself as that alternative, and why would you be better than Mr. Rooker?
Exactly. Well, I'm glad you used the word alternative, and I like to say the word options, because someone has called me the challenger, and I said, no, I like to give the people options. I think the people deserve options. We're in America. We are here to give opportunity to anyone and everyone that sees themselves fit in order to progress forward. So when I'm talking to people, I think that what separates me from from the other person is that I'm very personable. I'm very approachable. I want to make a complex subject simple. Yes, we have some extremely talented and smart and intelligent people in this city. But, we have people in the city that just really want to just understand the process and just break it down. I think that I have the better approach in doing that. So that separates me, and I think that anyone would say that.
So it's, I think the question that a lot of people have, is there a particular operational challenge within the current process that we have in the assessor's office, or is it just your thought process that we just need a different perspective in that office?
Well, one of the operational challenges that I mentioned earlier was in reference to connecting people with information. So that is one of the operational challenges, how people are getting this information, connecting people in reference to how this office impacts their decision on one of the largest purchases that you'll make of your life, your home, land. So yes, that is one of I think the biggest challenge. And also just letting people know that, this office is available to provide them information that can help them make informed decisions about their properties. Definitely.
Now, have you ever been part of an assessment or a valuation, a revaluation that the assessor has done before? Have you witnessed it, or what is your experience with those kinds of every 4-year assessments?
Absolutely. Well, yes, in various counties, the assessment is some are 4, some are 6, we're 4. At the Tennessee Public Service Commission, we did have to prepare the tax roll because we appraised the property that all 95 counties could not appraise by law. We appraised the for-profit gas, water, electric, and telephone utilities. So we had to prepare tax rolls, and we had to appraise properties for ad valorem tax purposes. So yes, I've taken part in an assessment process.
Right. And you said you've been at the Public Service Commission, now the Regulatory Commission, for how long?
30 years.
30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounded to me like as part of that, you've been an appraiser. As part of that,
mm-hmm.
you have been a manager,
mm-hmm.
working on consumer
issues and mediating and balancing the issues of the utilities as well as the consumer, and outreach.
And you spent 8 years on the council.
Yes, I spent 8 years on the council from year 2003 to 2011. And during that time, I contemplated running for the assessor of property. Matter of fact, I was approached by someone, a close colleague of mine, who happened to see me on a trip in East Tennessee as I was there performing my duties. And we met for dinner and we talked about the assessor of property. Right. And it was pretty interesting. I did, came close to pursuing it, but I decided that representing the people of District 29 was something I wanted to complete and fulfill first.
And what would you say are your biggest accomplishments during your time on the council? The things you're proudest of?
And the council, I think one of the things I'm proud of is that we passed the tax freeze, one of the freezes that was provided for the seniors. I think one of the other thing that I am very proud of is the fact that we made it clear that as we pursue these big ticket items downtown, that the people in our district don't want to have things on their back that they're paying for through higher taxes, for that matter. And we was able to accomplish that and also be able to establish a new fire hall that was approved and passed before I left as being the District 29 council person, and other amenities in the district that has benefited the people in Southeast Davidson as a whole, though, in Davidson as a whole of the county. One of the other bigger accomplishment, I think, as being a representative, taking care of the people business, was to support people in government, the police department, firefighters when they were talking about cutting their pay. And the reason why that was such a connection is because the fact I myself was employed. I myself was dealing with the same issues that they were dealing with. So it made it a much more personable for me, as well as something that I felt that we need to be supporting them on. So yes, those were my biggest accomplishments. I think about them in general.
So you were term limited in 11. Have you run for an office since then?
I did, Frank. I have ran for an office since then. While in council, I ran for the juvenile court clerk. David Smith is doing an excellent job. And I also ran for Metro Council at large, advocacy for the people once again. So, serving in a public servant position is just in my DNA. And I'm not going to do this, but I can go all the way back from the time I was in high school to the time I was at Tennessee State University and things that we marched for and marched on to now. And, and as I've gone through this journey of professional experience and also personal experience, I feel that since I've been at this juncture once before, I'm here again, and I feel that this is the time. The time is right. We're the IT city, but we need to find ways that we're going to be able to support the people who've been here.
So you were on council during the last major revaluation of 2005, I think. Mm-hmm. And so this is probably, it's the most similar to what was going on. You had a boom time, you had perhaps a lot of angst. How did you approach it from the council? What lessons did you learn from there that you might be able to apply to this revaluation?
Education, education, education. That's what I would apply to that. Helping people to understand what are their options. How do we need to get you qualified for these certain programs that deadline in April and deadline by the end of December? That was so very important. Just like being an appraiser, location, location, location. In this case, education, education, education. And I found that providing the information to the people is what I learned because it was somewhat complex to them. But giving it in a simpler term, it made it easier for them to understand.
So for people who became tax burdened because of the valuation, what were the options available to them?
Well, one of the options available to them is to see if they qualified for these programs. That's the first thing. The second options available to them is to be able to come and defend their assessed value before the assessor property and the Board of Equalization. So that was their options available to them. And then, to know about the trending things that are happening in Nashville, to anticipate the future. What is to come. So just you may want to anticipate this. I was telling someone also just the other day with this great boom that we have in Nashville, and it's wonderful, but it also makes you wonder, could this be the beginning of some type of housing, the bubble bursting again, because it's very, very critical. So those are the things that I was able to provide to them as options to think about what's to come, what they can do now.
What are examples of these programs, just to get more specific, who would qualify for them, just to give a couple of examples of who might be able, and what they do for them?
Absolutely. Well, the senior freeze, the senior relief, they are programs that that a person, they're age specific and they're also income means tested. So it does provide, whether you have to be a certain age and have a certain income, $40,000 in reference to being able to qualify, and have a combined household income in one area, $20,000, the other $40,000. The deferral, there's one that says a rebate, where you can get a rebate on the amount of principal, the valuation of your property value. For veterans, it is up to $100,000, and for disabled individuals, I think it's up to $20,000. So it's very important that they are being able to be made known that these programs are available. And through that, you can always have what is called the domino effect. If that person doesn't qualify, they may know somebody that actually would qualify. When I've done outreach regarding the programs and services of the Tennessee Regulatory Authority, sometimes I find myself sitting in a room with people who most likely may not qualify for the program. So I tell them, you become your brother's keeper at this point if you don't qualify for these programs as I go through this presentation. And learn how to share the information, because the information is powerful.
Yes.
there anything else you'd like to add before we head to our conclusion?
Just simply, I thank you so much for this opportunity to come before the opinion board. I was looking for a whole room of people, and some women, by the way.
Yes, our women members ended up going to other meetings.
Well, send my regards to her. But nonetheless, I really do appreciate this opportunity. The opinion board is a board that I highly respect in reference to some of the topics that you speak about. Some of my friends and we feel like that's one of the greater part of the paper, because you can get a chance to kind of hear the balanced views of people who are thinking outside the box, and which is pretty awesome. This also gives me an opportunity to talk to the people of Nashville who I hope will be looking at this video, and I hope would call me at 615-589-2003 or reach out to my website at www.vivianwilhoite4assessorofproperty.com, or check me out on other social media like Facebook and Twitter, to ask me questions, and I hope that I have earned their respect, earned their support, and ultimately earned their vote. So thank you.
Ms. Wilhoite, thank you very much, and to our readers at Tennessean.com, we appreciate it. To Mr. Frank Daniels, it's a pleasure.
Thank you.